So today is November 25th. I don't feel good. I have COVID. My son tested positive yesterday, and I woke up feeling like I got hit by a truck. So, yay! Second round of COVID. We'll see who else catches it. But, anyways, I keep waiting to share what Dylan did to me. And I don't know why, but I don't want to hold it in anymore. I don't want it to be, it's still my burden and whatever, but, I didn't do anything wrong. He did. So I guess, eventually I would like to talk about being molested when I was younger. But right now, this needs to come out, and I'm just ready to talk about it. So I was in DCYF custody when I was, 16 is when I entered custody, but when I was 20, I was in a foster home at the time, and I think I was with her for maybe 2 years as her foster kid. I don't even remember, but anyways, they were great. She had a duplex, and I lived on half with 2 other girls, and then she and her husband and kids lived on the other side. But she made this, she ended up creating her own program within DCYF, and it was called the IRE Transitional Program, and I'm trying to remember, I would have to look it up, but I think it was something like IRE meant something like cool, something like that. I'm getting it wrong, I'm sure, but so it was the IRE Transitional Program, and so she made this program, and it was supposed to be primarily for, not supposed to be, but, it was with teen moms in mind, and, so that the teen moms could continue to go to school or work and have the child care or whatever. But it was also, I was eligible for the program as well. I had to continue going to school and work. I think technically the option was, that you had to work or go to school, but, I had, in this program, it would pay for the apartment for rent, but, I had to pay the other things, so I had to have a job. But anyways, so my first apartment in her program was right next door on Monson Street in Johnston. There was a couple that lived on the main floor or whatever, and I rented the lower level, and they were great. It was great. And then my foster mom decided she was going to sell her house, or I don't know if she was going to sell it, but she was going to buy a house in West Greenwich and move down to West Greenwich. And this house had like an in-law or efficiency sort of apartment attached to the house, and it was a horse farm and lots of exciting things. And so she asked if I wanted to move, and take the apartment that was next to her and her family. And so I absolutely was like, hey, heck yes. So I moved down there with her, and I really don't remember why we had a falling out, but I think I had some jealousy over a couple of girls she had living with her, or I don't know. We had a falling out. I ended up in Butler when I was 20, after our fight or whatever, and I think that, I don't remember how long I was there, but I believe that when I was discharged, I was allowed to temporarily stay with my mother, And my mom and I at this point are like civil. You know, we just didn't talk about anything, so it was just, we're just gonna, you know, move on, not necessarily pretend it didn't happen, but, you know, we're gonna not talk about anything from my past. But so I stayed with her. I remember staying with her because I remember driving to and from Butler to participate in the outpatient partial program, I believe it was called. And so I remember doing that, and then I eventually found an apartment on Spring Street in Westerly. The landlord's name was Kerry. It was 24 Spring Street. I think there's something like 6 units in the building, but I'm not entirely sure. It's definitely you know, several units. But anyways, my unit was on the 2nd floor of my apartment. I remember I moved in and I got hired to work at Burger King, and I was already in classes at CCRI. So, you know, I had it pretty good. Really, I mean, I was like, my rent's getting paid for, my schooling is getting paid for, and I just, you know, had to work minimally to pay for a cell phone and, you know, other utilities or whatever. And it was just, I remember being so excited, you know, but this was also now, you know, the first time that I'm in Westerly, and, you know, I'm entirely on my own. I'm still not great with my mom. I started my job at Burger King, and, or no, maybe I hadn't yet, actually, according to the therapy notes. I don't think I had started quite yet at Burger King when I met Dylan. And you know, I think I need to paint a picture here for you, because, you know, I was a little girl. I was around 9, and I was molested from then until I was 14. And you just need to know that I was already victimized, already abused, learned to be very complicit, and you just didn't let them do what they need to do. That is how I learned. That is what I learned. And that is, I didn't know at all that I could say no, or that it was wrong, or to stand up for myself. I did not know. So I walked into this, you know, moved into this apartment and met Dylan, and it started where he would, you know, so I had to walk past his door every time I wanted to go in if I used the back entrance, and his door would have been on the left, and the staircase, you know, was, but he would catch me because it was, you know, right there. And so he would start by, you know, saying hi, flirting, you know, what's my name, things like that. And I thought he liked me. And here I am, this 20-year-old who's already been molested for, you know, several years, was ripped from her home because no one believed her. And then, you know, here I am in this apartment all by myself after just having been in Butler and had the falling out with my foster mom, and you know, so many things would be different if I hadn't met Dylan. But so, you know, it started consensual. I remember going into his house and we had sex, and, you know, he had a thing too for, like, you want to come watch a movie. It was always, do you want to come hang out and watch a movie? what kind of movies you have. You know, he wanted to know what I had for DVDs. And, so there was one day I was with him in his apartment, and I asked him, I remember just, gosh, the naive girl that I was, but I asked him if this meant that he was my boyfriend now. And I remember he went something like, boyfriend? I don't know about that. Boyfriend? I mean, I guess. And that was his response. And I foolishly got excited. He said yes, so now it meant he was my boyfriend, and I didn't even I couldn't look at what was happening until now that I can step back and see. But it's just true. I just didn't know. But anyway, so, you know, we move along, and and now things are starting to get like, first of all, we never date. We don't go anywhere. There's none of that. And I learned very quickly that this is not a dating relationship. He has no interest other than to use me. You know, there would be times where, many times, where, you know, I didn't want to do things and I felt like I had to. And it's the same with being, you know, when I was molested, it's the same, you know, and if you have not been there, then you just can't understand, because I didn't know how to say no, get away. So he would start doing things, you know, where like I would be like, you know, well, let's work alone. Let's put a condom on and whatever. And he would be like, nah, I hate condoms. And, you know, I don't like the way they feel. And then he'd have sex with me anyway. And I didn't stop it. I couldn't. I didn't know how. I didn't know, you know, I would try to walk past his door and he'd crack it open, and, you know, he would just do this, you know, little like, come on, let's watch a movie. And just the slightest little tug of my arm, my elbow, to just guide me into his apartment, and that was it. I was done for. He had me, and he knew it. So, you know, there were other times when, you know, I was wanting to move or something, and he would just take my hands and just grab them with one of his hands by both of my wrists and just put them up over my head and do whatever he wanted to do. You know, I remember him, you know, having sex with my vagina and then making me give him a blowjob. And some people are into that. That's cool, but no, it's not my thing. And I'm not judging, but I was forced to do it. And that's the problem. Dylan at this time was working for security. He was working for a security company, and he was monitoring the original Ocean House in Watch Hill, in Westerly. And I've always been a fan of old buildings and such, and so I foolishly, you know, I asked him if I could come see the Ocean House. Could I have a tour? And he said yes. And so, you know, I want to say stupid me, but it's not even, I wasn't stupid. I was just lost, and didn't know any better. I don't. So I go into the Ocean House, and I remember he showed me I think it was like down some stairs, and we went into the old kitchen. I remember that there were like old sneakers just like randomly laying there. It was just odd. It was just odd stuff there, but you know, it was sitting empty for how long. And so anyways, he showed me the kitchen, and then he showed me, we went like up one floor. I think he told me that we couldn't go all the way up because there was a problem with fleas on the upper levels, so whatever. But you know, I walked in through a couple of the old rooms, and I thought the adjoining doors were neat, and you know, the old door handles, and it was neat. And so we walked back towards the main room there, and he kind of stopped. And I tried to keep walking, and I was like, well, thank you, and I'll see you later. And he came over to me, and he grabbed my arm, and not grabbed hard, again, just, you know, just said, oh, no, 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 and pulled me over to him and said, you know, I gave you something you wanted. Now you need to give me something I want. And so he took me over to a chair, made me kneel on it, took off my pants, and had vaginal sex with me from behind, right in the ocean house. I asked him if there were cameras, and he said whatever, and he finished, and I left, and I was like, you're so stupid. Just call myself stupid. Why did I think that I would just get a tour and then leave? You know, I already knew things were getting out of hand with him. But that invisible little girl from when I was younger is just who I was for so long. The police report that everyone is talking about, you know, I'm ready to just tell you the awful thing that he did to me. I mean, all of it was awful because I didn't deserve any of it. But on August 11th, in 2005, we were on his couch in his apartment having sex, you know, missionary style. I was on the bottom, he was on top, and out of nowhere, he said to me, he was like, come on, and grabbed my arm, and like, I can't describe it sitting here, but like pulled my body up, and then like to get me to plop onto the floor so that I was on all fours. So he did that, and he was like, come on, and I was like moving so quickly, like I felt like I was falling, like I didn't know what was happening, and so he had me on all fours. Sorry. And he starts having sex with me from behind vaginally, and it is not nice. It is not pleasurable at this point. He's now screwing me from behind, and it doesn't feel good. I'm hurting. I'm in pain. And he takes his penis out, and he puts it at my butt, at my anus, be correct. And I took my right hand and I lifted it up behind me, And I put it in between. And I said, no, no, no. And he took my arm. He grabbed my wrist. and he reached it up and over. And put it back on the floor. And he said, oh, yes, yes, yes. While he was taking my arm and putting it back over. And then he plunged himself in. I remember just clenching my teeth because it hurt so bad. And I couldn't stop it. And I remember just holding so firmly on the ground, like as much as I could, and just trying to be strong and not cry or anything. And then, so mind you, I've told him no now. I told him no, and I physically, to the best of my ability, tried to stop it. But Dylan doesn't listen, and Dylan does whatever he wants. And so, while he was fucking my ass, he starts to say, he said, whose ass is this? And I just didn't know what he was talking about. I had never been in a position where, you know, someone's talking like that to me, and I was so confused, so I said, it's mine. And then he would like thrust himself in even harder and be like, whose ass is this? And I said, it's mine. Until, you know, 5 or 6 times total. And I finally understood that he wanted me to tell him it was his. That it was his ass. And then it registered and it clicked in my head, and so I just kept saying it was his every time he did it. Every time he asked. And then he finished. And he went to the shower like he always did. Right to the shower every time. So I just got dressed and I went upstairs to my apartment and I laid there in a ball. I can remember just laying there in the ball, just numb, just not even crying, not even, I was just numb. I didn't even feel the pain. I just was numb. I just was so numb. So later that day I had therapy. It just happened to already have had an appointment scheduled, and I told her, and she convinced me to go to the hospital. And so later that evening, when, I don't know when, I guess I don't remember calling for a rescue. I don't remember calling at all, but I do remember being in the rescue. I remember just sitting there, silent, on the stretcher, and got to the ER. And they did blood work and stuff, and then they asked if they could do a rape kit. You know, and it's like, I was 20 years old, very immature, and, you know, I was alone in town. It was at night. the rape kit is what gets me, because all that really proves is just that we had intercourse. I don't even... The diagnosis on my hospital record says rape. And then people, you know, question the AG, questioned and whatever, you know, because I had made some journal notes before trying to press charges, and my words got so twisted out of there, just absolutely ridiculous. But no one explained to me how a rape kit works, and I feared that if I let them do that, they would get, you know, figure out it was him, they would arrest him, and then he'd be released and living right next to me, and then he'd hurt me worse. I couldn't get out. I was in this apartment by myself, not getting along with my foster mom, not getting along with my mom. I had nobody. Nobody. I didn't have friends down here anymore. You know, once I moved away in when I was 16, you know, they're no longer my friends. I lost them all. You know, and you don't always stay friends throughout life with, you know, elementary friends, so that's, you know, school friends, but that's fair, but I refused the rape kit because I was terrified of being hurt worse by Dylan LaPietra. And if someone had just explained to me that they can just hold it and save it as evidence, I probably would have let them do it. But no one explained that. I had no idea how a rape kit worked. I was just petrified. And then to make matters worse, because I had nobody, I had to call him for a ride home from the ER that night. I'll never forget it. He walked in and the nurse said to me, "That's him, isn't it?" And I just said no, put my head down and walked out with Dylan. He let me go to my apartment. So nice of him. But it didn't stop. After that incident, I mean, he had complete control. What was I going to do? And, you know, the AG said, you know, you were back with him, back in his apartment a couple days later. And I'm like, you just don't get it. He stalked me. He literally would open the door and wait for me all the time. Or come up to my door and knock and like just get his hand around the door so that I can't shut it. A predator. A sexual predator. That is what he is. And the only way I got him to leave me alone was by having DCYF, my foster mom. She wasn't a foster mom technically at that time, but I call her my foster mom, and she was able to break my lease after only 5 months of my 1-year lease, and that was how I got Dylan LaPietra to leave me alone. It ruined so many things for me. I didn't do anything wrong. He did. And I should have pressed charges back then. You know, in October of 2005, after I had gotten out of that apartment, I did go to the police station and I gave a statement. I don't know if it's considered a statement or something else because I didn't want to press charges at the time. I just wanted him to leave me alone and not contact me, which he did. He left me alone. And I had told the officer that I didn't want him to talk to Dylan unless I, called back and had issues because Dylan wouldn't leave me alone or something. But Dylan left me alone after I moved out, and I forgot about him. Pushed it down. Just like when I was abused by my former stepbrother. For years. I wasn't sure if I was going to share that quite yet, but it's the truth. And I came forward when I was a teenager and no one believed me. So I got shipped off to DCYF. I think I'm going to stop here. Thank you for listening. I also just wanted to add here that I know that there are going to be lots of people who are like, why on earth would you share details like that? And you know what? Why not? Because I didn't do it. He did it. I don't have any shame. Why should I be ashamed? I'm just sad for who I was and that I didn't know any better. But I didn't do any of this. My perpetrators did. And it's their shame that they would treat another human being that way. Not mine. I didn't do anything wrong. I've been right since day one. I've been right since I was a kid. But no one listens.